Have you ever had a near-death experience? Or perhaps someone you know may have had a near-death experience? Well, if so, we would love to hear your story and have you as a guest on our podcast. For more information, visit NDE.world. Again, that's NDE.world. We would love to hear your story.
Welcome to the NDE World Podcast, where we explore the magical, mystical, and spiritual world of near-death experiences. And now, Ashton Lewis and Daphne Lynn.
Welcome back to another wonderful and exciting episode of the NDE World Podcast. I am your host, Ashton Lewis, and my lovely co-host, Miss Daphne Lynn. Hello, Daphne.
Good morning. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for asking. Now, on today's Coffee and Conversation episode, we're going to, Daphne's wanting to share some things out of the Remember book, Lightwork information that actually kind of ties into a lot of the NDE stuff,
Yes.
So let's just go ahead and jump on into it. I'm just going to turn the mic over to you and just go ahead and share that with the listeners.
Yeah, thank you for letting me share this, because I have heard so many of the NDE stories that really ties in with what I'm about to read. So if it resonates with you, take it, accept it, process it. If it doesn't, let it go. But I really feel that this is a part from that side of the veil shared with us to help wake us up. Okay, so straight from the book. Let the grand game begin. All of us are here in a meadow at the base of a mountain. We are home. We are playing together in perfect love. A dear brother approaches and says, "Would anyone here like to play a new game?" "What kind of game?" you ask. "Is it like the ones we play now?" "No," he replies. "It is nothing like we've ever done before. It will be an elaborate game with many props and disguises. We will wear veils so that we can no longer see or remember our true nature. Even the veil will be hidden from view. Then we will start the game and begin to remember. This veil will be so effective we will forget not only who we are, we will even forget home. Even as we pass each other on our paths, we will look into each other's eyes and not recognize one another. The veil will be so effective that many will look around at the props and disguises and truly believe that this is all there is. We will retain all of our powers, yet we will not remember how to use them or that they are even there. The game will be played in phases, and before we start each phase of the game, we may place as many reminders in our path as we wish to help us remember. Be advised to place as many reminders, for most of us will rationalize them away easily. We will choose the time and place for our entrances and exits on the game board. We will also set up circumstances and lessons we wish to complete while we are under the veil. A tally will be kept and points accumulate from one phase to the next. This point system will only be used to determine what will be included in our next phase. We will not be able to remember from one phase to the next, yet once mastered, certain attributes may be carried forward into the next phase. We will always carry our core essence and personality, yet we will not remember that it passes with us through the veil into the next phase. Humor will always be a reminder that passes unchecked through the veil. And if our guides find us getting too serious, they will tickle our funny bones as a reminder that this is only a game. There will also be many masters available along the way to help us if we wander too far from the path. Oh yes, I almost forgot. An important part of the game. At all times, there will be free choice. We have complete choice in all matters. We may even choose not to play the game or to call in a substitute. We may choose to hide or we may choose to seek. It is entirely up to us. On the game board, there will be polarity. This has to do with the mechanics of the game board itself and will be a necessary component as it provides the contrast needed. However, polarity will taint our vision. Through the eyes tainted with polarity, we will perceive things as up or down, light or dark, good or bad, love or fear, and right or wrong. Do not let this fool you. It is only an illusion. We will all leave our higher aspects of ourselves in a special place for the duration of the game. Otherwise, the game could be much too easy. Our higher selves will be available to you at all times. Our challenge will be to learn to access it and to remember that it exists as part of our lives. We may choose special loved ones to ride on our shoulder to advise us during the game. Again, remembering that they even exist will be a big part of the game itself. The goal of the game will be to see how many of us can remember who we are, where we are from, and what powers of creation we have. Once we remember, then you may re-emerge with our higher selves and recreate home on the other side of the veil to demonstrate that we have fully remembered. So who wants to play? This has so many aspects of NDEs
Right.
all in this. And this book has been an eye-opener for me. Now, I'm going to tell you, I bought this book a year or so ago. And I said, I'm going to get to it. And finally, when it popped out on the shelf to me, and I said, okay, it's time to read it. So I have loved this book. It has resonated with me almost from cover to cover. So, what are your thoughts? I see you over there taking notes on it. So what have you got? What have you come up with? What has Spirit let you reveal to you? What has Spirit revealed to you?
Okay, well, I got a few things here. Let me grab my extra eyes.
Yeah, I just had to
guess
take mine
that will
off.
help. And if I don't write and take notes, then I forget what I'm going to ask. That helps. They say that's two signs to let you know that you're getting old, or older, should I say. Number one is you start to forget things, okay? And number two is...
You forgot what number 2 was?
What was number 2? I forgot. I forgot what number 2 was. But anyway, there's a number 2.
That means you're getting old.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's just a story. Okay, back
That's
to...
just a story.
Yes, anyway, I've got to write notes, but yeah, okay, so I'm going to kind of, I know it started off mentioning that veil, okay? Mm-hmm. And it kind of reminds me of the gentleman yesterday, the interview, that the veil, he was kind of linking it somehow to the body or...
The biology of
the
yeah.
Do you remember anything about that? It's not really that big of a deal right now, but I'm just was trying to recall that. But anyway, that's the one thing. Okay, so let's see. What do we have here? You have to forget who you are. Forget your home. Okay, and that this veil is so effective that people believe this is all there is. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, it just reminds me of so many of the NDEs where one of their first expressions of the other side is it felt like home. They knew they were home. Okay, so that being, we remembered on the other side, but we have to come back and forget things. It goes on to collecting the points that's you leave your soul essence on the other side.
Right, and it's I've heard even NDEers talk about that your main soul is already somewhere else.
Yeah.
You're just a piece of that right now here.
Yeah, like in one of our recent episodes where use the example of the cube, and part of you
That's right.
was on the main part of you was on the other side, but this part of you got to do little pieces here and there, but it
build
wasn't
up
all
that.
of you. So.
Correct. Yeah. That's wild. Now, here's some interesting things that I hear a lot in these experiences and the stuff we're into. That you choose your time and place for entrance and exit, coming into this life. Okay, you're a pure soul. Okay, on the other side.
Yep.
And you actually, they say there's a waiting line. Everybody, there's lots of in line wanting to come down here to see what it's like to be a human. So you get to choose the time, the place, and all these things. Would you like
Which
to comment on that?
ties in with soul contracts, which is what has my interest in the NDE stories, because there's so many that say, we have things that we have to do, and the people in our lives have been chosen on that other side, and that's part of our soul contracts.
Well, maybe that ties in with here. It says you go over your instructions and all your stuff for this level. So that would probably go, that would make sense to tie into all that. It says that you always carry your core personality, regardless of how many times you keep going through different
Reincarnation.
Humor unchecked. I like that, because humor is a really good thing. And you hear a lot of
Yeah.
stories of the spirit world. Even they
Joy on the other
who
side.
have visions of God, in that regard, or Jesus, or any of these characters, how and even some of the angels and spirits that they're laughing at us because we're so hard on ourselves, but they just laugh and just
It's
chill.
humorous.
It's okay.
Not that they're laughing at us, but they can't experience this side, so it's humorous to them.
Right.
So I
Maybe like
love
watching
that.
a cat. How we watch a cat just
Or
cut
a
up and
dog
do something.
play, yeah. Our pets play, and
Maybe
that's
us
humorous.
to them,
Yeah.
that they're, I mean, you just never know. You never know. Get you thinking. So, also, I like this. It says the reminder that it's only a game, okay? And you eventually become masters on this path. And once you become masters, okay, then you get to go home. And stay home in that regard is what I'm getting from that. But I notice right here at all times, and this is so vital, and this is probably the key element of the whole episode, all times, free choice.
Exactly.
Or your will, free will, okay? It's your choice whether you want to play or don't play. You want to substitute, you want to hide, you want to seek. It's up to you. Do what you want to do. Like it mentioned, like the duality. It's only an
Right.
illusion.
Everything here is an illusion. And I hear so many times in the NDE stories that this is not the real life. This is just a phase. That the other side is the real core essence, the other life, not here. This is the matrix, the
Playground?
playground. Yeah. Yes, thank you. I hear so many NDEers say that this is schoolhouse earth. We come here to learn and experience and take that back. So, yes, I mean, if everything is free choice, that self-responsibility that we were talking about in a previous episode.
That's right. And even on the other side, they say that that's your greatest gift is your free choice. It's the one thing that you have. And think about that, how powerful just that one concept is.
But there's no good and bad in your free choice. It just is.
Right. I like how it brought out how our higher self is always available if we learn how to tap into it.
Right. And you hear so many of these NDEers talk about the higher self. Gaining that knowledge from higher self.
Right. Like I said, come down to how many of us actually can remember who we are and where we're from.
Yeah, we have bought into the illusion that this life is it. This is all there is. But it's just a little
You get everything
grain
you can
on the
get
sand
in this
of the
world.
beach. I mean, it's one speck on the whole beach, like that one drop in the water of the ocean or lake, or the ocean. Yeah, one drop in the. Hold on.
I understand
Like-
the metaphor, the analogy. Yeah,
Like the one drop in the ocean.
the ripple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and once you understand who you really truly are, then you can really go home for good.
Well, you can not only go home for good. I mean, you get to take all that back with you, but you can experience the other side of the veil on this side. You can start
Sure. remembering
and really experience life, and I think that is the grand awakening that is going on. Myself, I've had an awakening. You know, my spiritual side has just busted out, and here I am. You know, and is taking the lead in my life. I'm feeling and having love that I never felt from being in religion. I mean, it is just totally opposite. Now, I loved, don't get me wrong, I loved, but it was a judgmental love. And that's, religion divides. Just from my experience, now it may be different for another person. It's not me to push it on anybody, but this is my walk. So I have experienced more love and less judgmental attitude coming out of religion.
What would you say contributes to that?
The higher self waking me up, saying, hey.
How does the NDE world tie in with that as well?
Oh, God, yeah. Well, we've all had loss in our life from loved ones. And knowing that I have loved ones on that side, very recent, that was very painful for me. And if I hadn't already known what I know now and had my awakening and know about the NDEs, that probably would have took me out. I mean, because that was a loss as a mother.
Yeah.
So that was very painful. And had I not known what I know now and the awakening, I don't know how I would be right now, if I would even be here.
And think about if you still had the religious background understanding before you learned all the,
I honestly feel that
I mean, you'd
I
probably
would have been very
torment right now.
judgmental. I would have been very judgmental of the outcome of his life.
Yeah.
I would have been very judgmental. But thank goodness I have the knowledge I know now to know that, hey, that's not the case.
Right. And you understand that we all are one.
Exactly.
We all
And
go back
he's
to the
living.
source. That's right. It never died. You never die. And then when you go through the other side, you have to get purged. But
Exactly.
you're gonna be the judge of that, and you're gonna have to live with those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But you carry that with you, and you'll know next time that you may not want to act like a fool if you come down and try it again. But the beauty of it all is it totally destroys the mind control that religion has had over mankind over the past 2,000 years.
Right. Yeah. There's so much beauty in these NDEs for me. A lot of people may like, why do you want to listen to that kind of stuff? No, there's beauty and there's lessons in these stories for those that want to hear them and know them, and it will resonate with you.
Well, as a doctor myself, years ago when I was practicing, actually neurolinguistic psychology.
I mean, Dr. Psycho? I mean, psychology?
Yes, correct. I've done a lot of study in metaphor study and things like that.
Right, yeah.
And because we use a lot of that when we're, working with people's minds and, maybe past regressions or anything like that, or just really understanding the human mind.
Yeah, mind is not the map, right?
Yeah, the map is not the territory.
That's how it goes.
That's something totally different. But that definitely applies to the mind.
Yeah.
A good example of that is just watch some of these shows like American Idol or something. It's the perfect example of the map is not the territory. You get some of these guys and gals get up there and they'll sing and it sounds horrific. But in their mind, in their world, their map,
they are
the reality
perfect,
is they
yeah.
sound good and they're superstars and all this and that. But that's just a map. It's not reality. The reality is, well, guys, you don't even really need to be on the stage. But that's kind of a little small example. But back to the metaphor. Metaphor is the language of the mind, okay? And you can do a lot of therapy on people just once you start listening to people's language, and all of us speak metaphor all day.
Like, it's like this, or it's as if.
Yeah, so metaphor and the similes and things like that. So when I first started learning this stuff, I got out my pen and paper and I would listen to dialogues on television shows. I would just go through the channel. If I see two people sitting down talking, I'd sit down, grab my pen, and would train to listen. Hours upon hours, and after a while, you
pick it up easily.
You hear it. And people say tons and tons of metaphor or similes, analogies and stuff all throughout the day. It's the way the mind works. Okay, so we call it the language of the spirit. So it's very visual, but you have an example like the metaphor or the expression. I'm said like I can't get nowhere. It's like I'm just beating my head up against a wall. Well, you're not literally pounding your head up against a wall. Okay, that is the metaphor or the symbol in that expression. Okay, is how you or your mind is actually describing that. So the spirit describes things, and when people come back from the other side and these NDEs, they're using that mind imagery. That mind is really, because that's why you have so many different ones. The elements there, usually the OBE, the out of the body experience, the feeling of love and all this and that, but the elements are there, but it may change how it's presented to you. So metaphor and mind and symbols and all that is of the spirit,
and which is what we are. We have an illusion or delusion that our physical body is all we are.
Right. Some people think when you die,
this is it. Yeah. But that's not the case.
It's not.
It's they're working on the scientific side of it, that life after death is a real thing.
Right. And this is not some kind of religious talk. We're not just sitting here talking a bunch of, everything that we speak of, and you can go on many sites out there that this has been a study for years. It's for 50 years probably, easy. Yeah. But it goes back thousands of years.
It does.
It has been documented of people, dying or going on the other side or near death or, out of body experiences and actually documenting the phenomena. So we're going to have people like that actually on our show as well. Because I personally was talking to someone recently, and they was telling me a really good OBE that they had. So, I think we're definitely going to see about getting him on here as well.
That sounds really good. I look forward to it too.
Well, looking at the clock, we still have a few minutes left here. But that's kind of, we're talking about that, like with the out of body experience, like we had mentioned earlier. We definitely want to get that guy on. And
because he's got a very interesting story.
It's very interesting, yeah.
It leans more toward the distressing, but there was a lesson in it for him. So. Yeah,
it's very graphic, but it ties in with, like I said earlier, the symbolism of the mind. We work better with symbols, okay, than we do with words or little black letters on a white page or whatever. We're not designed for that. We're designed to see a 5D, 6D, 12D world, and the vision of reality around us in whatever form that comes in. And they expect us to try to learn on stuff like that. That's why a lot of people lose interest in reading in school and stuff like that.
See, me, when I was in school, I didn't like reading. It didn't resonate with me. I didn't like to read, but now we have bookshelves full of books, I love reading. I love gaining this esoteric knowledge.
Me as well, and I'm glad that we're at an age now where you can actually really look into this stuff, because there are real historical records out there. There are real documents. You can really go into these people who, these societies and people have collected this information and data, and has just been passed on and passed on and passed on. Not to mention, don't even go in the subject about the Catholic Church and all the information they've got hidden underneath the Vatican.
Right.
God only knows what's underneath there. I mean, you could only imagine the history.
53 miles of books down there.
Think about that.
Think about
over
53
miles of books. Yeah.
Jeez.
And and they're the ones who created Christianity as we know it today.
Exactly. And I just remembered what I was going to say. With us not hearing so much of about NDEs, 100 years ago or so, is, people more or less passed away. They weren't so much into CPR and, reconnecting the body with the soul.
Modern technology,
CPR
gives them more chances to come back.
Yeah, so we're interfering with that.
Yes.
That process. So that's why we're getting the stories that we're getting, but it's to enlighten us. It is to help open our eyes and help us remember, like the book says.
And so this remembering that you're talking about really brings us full circle back to the original story that you was reading earlier.
Yeah, it's just those little things, little crystals, as they call it throughout the book, little reminders of home, of what our purpose is, to help us remember who we are and the power that we hold within.
Yeah, yeah.
And we can use that on this side of the veil.
That's right, exactly. And I can't help but think, I don't know where this came from. I got this image of Dorothy. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Do you remember The Wizard of Oz?
Yes, and if I only had a heart. Hey, that is beautiful. Yes, so full circle back around to it. Remember home. Remember to love.
Yeah.
On this side of the veil.
Absolutely, because that's what you carry. You carry back with you.
Yeah.
And the more you love, the more you grow.
Oh, yes.
And part of that love is, like we had mentioned in the earlier episodes, like of the empathy, having that empathy for others and loving others and doing for others more than self.
Do unto others, yeah. I mean, that is...
the golden rule, yeah. Do unto others as you would have them do to you.
Every religion out there, do unto others. Be good to others.
Well, very good. Well, it looks like we are almost at the end of our time here. Kind of maybe final comments on this game that we're playing, and we're coming in and taking on these avatars and learning these life lessons, and then going back, kind of like what you opened up with. Just maybe some final words.
Just, really reflect inward. Don't go outward so much. I mean, I hear it from so many NDEs, connect with spirit, and that's what we have to do because we are spirit. So reflect on the higher self, gain knowledge from the higher self, and to some people that's like, oh, you don't do that. You give it elsewhere, but that's your walk, not mine.
Right. As long as you're walking, as long as you're on your path.
Exactly. As long as you're on your path, hey.
And
keep loving, keep loving.
That's the key. The key is to do anything you want in life. It doesn't matter. Do anything you want. Do not harm another soul, and do not harm yourself in the process. That's what it all comes down to. So, well, we're looking at the clock here. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here, Miss Daphne. So I appreciate you coming out this morning and sharing your wonderful time with us and the listeners on the podcast here. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I am your host, Ashton Lewis. And again, this is Miss Daphne Lynn. And you are listening to another episode of NDE World. And we love you so much. And we send our peace. And until next time,
let your light shine.
For more information about the NDE World Podcast, visit nde.world. That's nde.world.